Hello, I'm Kamali, taking you through the stories people are talking about and sharing around the world on Newsfeed today. Calls for Boris to apologise get louder. His answer?
Because I have nothing to say about this matter except to offer you some tea.
Okay.
Okay, go on.
Okay, thank you.
Alex Jones is still on Twitter. A campaign gets going to get him removed. What role does Facebook have in exacerbating the migrant crisis? Well, top of our news feed, Boris Johnson, the British politician, caused outrage last week by comparing Muslim women wearing the full-face veil to letterboxes and bank robbers. And he still won't say sorry or admit he was out of line, and he avoided the opportunity again yesterday in a very British way by offering reporters tea.
At that time, here solely on a humanitarian mission, because you've been here all day and you've been incredibly patient and I feel very sorry for you, because I have nothing to say about this matter except to offer you some tea.
Okay.
Okay, go on.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
And this is just classic Bojo, obfuscating a serious issue by being bumbly and jovial. But there's nothing funny about him or what he said. His political opponents have been quick to point that out. Now, Asda Campbell, who was a former spin doctor to Tony Blair, called Johnson revolting on so many levels. But Johnson wouldn't say these things without knowing he had support, and that came in from plenty of places in the UK, especially on the right of politics. It was summed up by this tweet by Tim Montgomery, who created the website Conservative Home. He just wrote, "Love him." But you've got to question what there is to love. His words have a real-world effect, as shown by this tweet from the Labour MP Wes Streeting, who points out that it's not so funny for the Muslim women who've experienced the backlash after what Johnson said. And it's been reported there's been an increase in incidents of Islamophobia in the week since Johnson wrote those words. Here's an example from the city of Bristol in southeast England.
I don't get it.
I just don't understand why do you care? It's her choice to wear what
I care because this world is dangerous. If you don't see somebody's face, that's not good.
So you say
in this time we live, yeah?
it's her choice. You're wearing. You choose what you want to wear.
It's not about a choice here.
It is a choice, actually. It's not any of your business. Just let her go.
You're a member of the public.
See my face. We should see our faces.
She doesn't want you to see her face.
Well, earlier we spoke to Iman Atta. She's the director of a group called Tell Mama. They monitor Islamophobia in Britain.
So I think within the political stream, we have been seeing that on a local level, within, let's say, the Conservative Party, we have seen on a local level there have been some Islamophobic comments made by local councillors and local politicians. We have been addressing this and following up on this with the Conservative Party. But I think to see a former mayor of London and a former foreign secretary come up with such dehumanizing comments emboldens those perpetrators and racist perpetrators in our society to come up with these words and gives them that kind of the leeway to get away with it. It does not represent the British politics. It does not represent our society. They are a minority. These perpetrators that perpetuate that hate are a minority within our society. But we do ask the UK government and the leadership to actually put more pressure on Boris Johnson to apologize for his comments. I know that the Prime Minister Theresa May has asked him to apologize. I know that the Conservative Party chairman, Brendan Lewis, has asked him to apologize. So did other ministers and other members of parliament. And unfortunately, so far, he has not apologized. So we do urge him to apologize because, unfortunately, he's dehumanizing words, comparing women to letterboxes.
Right, well, last week we told you about how the majority of major social media companies had cut their ties with the professional troll Alex Jones. And then there was one that didn't, Twitter.
I'm not gonna sit here and take it anymore.
And Twitter says that's because Jones' tweets hadn't violated their rules, even though the US news network CNN recently showed 7 tweets that did just that. Now, Alex Jones and his InfoWars channels had their accounts closed on Facebook and YouTube and had their podcasts taken down from Apple. And despite Twitter's reluctance to remove Jones, Twitter users are using the platform to try and force Twitter management to kick him off. This campaign was launched by an activist called Shannon Coulter, who's created a blocking list of big American companies that advertise with Twitter. Using her list, people can also block these companies from their feeds. Now, whether this has any impact on Twitter is something we'll be keeping an eye on here on Newsfeed. All right, let's take a look at what else has been trending on social media. Somnath Chatterjee has died and is being remembered online. He was an Indian politician and former Speaker of the Lok Sabha, that's India's lower house of parliament. He was 89 years old. On a completely different topic, some awards were given out last night in the United States. They're called the Teen Choice Awards, and as well as prizes for Best Actor and Singers and Actress, they also have prizes for female and male hotties. How depressing. And someone who's never been called a hottie showed he still got it with this great bit of work for DC United. Wayne Rooney puts in the work to make a tackle, then makes that incredible pass, setting up a goal for his team, proving that at the age of 32, while Wayne Rooney still well and truly has it. And the numbers of migrants dying while trying to get to Europe is fortunately at a much lower level than it has been in previous years. But people are still trying and continuing to lose their lives. And now a British crime agency says a social network may bear some responsibility. And staying with that migrant story, Tunisian fishermen have witnessed the tragedy of many people's death in the sea for years. They've been rescuing migrants and recovering the dead, and they now want the EU to follow their example.
Fishermen in Tunisia's coastal town of Zarzis are on the front line of the migrant crisis. They've been a vital force in rescuing hundreds of people and have been recovering bodies for years.
عملية الإنقاذ وقت اللي ما كانتش فما سلطة ترضى لك بأنك معناها تنقذ الناس.
Last year, at least 2,800 migrants died in the Mediterranean Sea while trying to reach Italy. Libyan militias involved in human trafficking cram migrants onto rubber dinghies, and a large number of them sink before they reach their destination.
وصلنا من 900 يعني منقذ 900 واحد انقذنا.
The fishermen have been targeted for rescuing migrants and are forced to change their routes, fearing reprisal from Libyan militias.
هو الفاتورة اللي دفعناها والثمن اللي دفعناه معناه مقابل العمل التطوعي وإنقاذ النفس البشرية. خلصنا فاتورة متاع أموات ومتاع شهداء متاع قطاع صيد بحري من الميليشيات الليبية اللي معناها ما تحبناش ننقذوا الناس، تحب الناس تموت.
Floating bodies are a common sight for fishermen in Zarzis.
شفت الجثث تعدينا بحذاهم برشا مرات، منهم مرة نقول لك ممكن حكاية نجروا في قرابات 15 كيلومتر عباد طافة. تمشي 15 كيلومتر تلقى 3-4 من الناس هني، تمشي يقولوا حنيا 500 متر أخرين تزيد تلقى واحد هيك واحد هيك. الكورون يجيب الجثث ويجيب حتى الفلايك معناتها اللي هيك اللي نقولوا حنيا الناس هزوهم معناتها هزتهم المنظمة كل شيء. وهم بعد الفلايك يقعدوا فرغات يجيبهم الكورون جاي.
This is the wreckage of a migrant boat that was rescued. Smugglers modify the fishing boats to fit more people. Hundreds of migrants are packed in boats like this.
Ils sont accroupis comme ça, plus de nombre, comme ça, accroupis l'un après l'autre, des lignes.
Shamsuddin Marzouk is not an ordinary fisherman. He's buried more than 400 migrants in this cemetery in Zarzis.
الناس هذم اضطهدتهم حكوماتهم، عاشوا في ميزيريا في حكوماتهم، ومعناتها ومشوا خذوا الريسك وخرجوا لليبيا، معناتها على الصحراء، في من يموت في الصحراء ويوصلوا لليبيا يتعذبوا ويتباعوا ويغتصبوا النساء وبعدين يطلعوا في زوارق الموت ويموتوا.
Marzouk recently spoke about the migrant crisis at the European Parliament, and he had a strong message.
يفكروا أنهم يستثمروا في الدول الإفريقية باش نحدوا من الهجرة، الاستثمار يستثمروه في عود يطيشوه يعطوه للميليشيات الليبية اللي باش ينقصوا من الهجرة أو يعطوه الإكس ولا يجريك، يمشوا يعملوا به مشاريع في إفريقيا، نقولوا احنا الدول المصدرة للهجرة.
A Lebanese pop star called Elisa stunned millions of her fans by telling them she had breast cancer and had overcome the disease. Now, she says the disease is taboo in the Arab world and hoped her story will inspire more women there to feel free to talk about it. And that feeling was backed up by the director of her music video.
بعتقد كمان ببلدنا العربي ما في توعية enough على هذا الموضوع. هي لسه لو ما هي she's a civilized slightly يعني كيف بدي أقول more educated person، هي بتعمل her yearly check-ups and this is why هي اكتشفت المرض بوقت مبكر، ولأنه هذا الشيء صار معها فكرت إنه if I was able to save my life then there's a lot of women who can do that and this is why she wanted to talk to them.
Let's take you around the world now for some other stories you need to know this Monday. This video of a policeman in the US city of Baltimore has, unsurprisingly, gone viral. And thankfully, he has resigned from his job. It's reported that the man he attacked so brutally had attacked him earlier in the year.
Don't worry about it.
An orca which swam with her dead calf for more than 1,000 miles has finally let it go. The behaviour, which is said to be the animals in mourning, is not unusual, but scientists say this one may have set a record. The orca swam with her calf for 17 days. And the actor who will play Batwoman in a new series has quit Twitter because of the abuse she's been given by some of the fans of the character. Ruby Rose has been criticised for not being Jewish and for not being gay enough. She will play Batwoman in a new series on the CW network in December. In some sad news, soul legend Aretha Franklin is reported to be very ill in hospital. The singer is 76 years old and has cancer. Her family have asked for privacy and prayers. Now, a woman at a theme park in the United States has been suspended from her job on grounds of racial bias after she repeatedly asked a group of young black girls to leave a store that she was working in. She said the girls had to go because they didn't have a chaperone. When they got a chaperone, she asked them to leave again. Now, later, one of the girls' mothers came back and filmed the woman and got her to admit this.
Decides that she doesn't want the children to shop in her store because she said they have to be with a chaperone. They go get the chaperone and then she excuses all of our girls to leave the store because she doesn't want them there. What's your reason why again?
Because they didn't have a chaperone.
No, and when they got the chaperone, what was your reason?
I didn't think she was a chaperone.
Now, do you think you spend too much time on your mobile phone? The evidence of our phone's addictiveness is pretty obvious. And one woman in the Iraqi city of Basra is working to give kids there something else to do other than look at their screens.
بس احنا نحاول نجرب هيك دورات تثقيفيه تعليميه ترفيهيه بالنسبه له حتى نغير حالته النفسيه. شوف هاي الالعاب داخل الموبايل يعني بيها اشياء ضاره، يعني سلاح وعنف وقتل وبعرف شنو، يعني كلها يموت، حتى بيها الفاظ يعني الفاظ غير صحيحه.
from the Newsfeed team. Reach out to us with your questions, comments, complaints and suggestions. I'm at Kamali Melbourne. You'll find us 24/7 on Twitter, YouTube and Facebook. Follow, subscribe and add. See you again tomorrow.